Hello everyone and welcome back to my online teaching platform. In this video, we shall consider some of the questions in 2025 WASSCE, that is General Mathematics. We will start with one of the compulsory questions. So let us find a solution to this problem or this question. A distributing van supplies drinks between two depots, Zam and Aban, covering the half of the covering half of the distance at an average speed of 60 kilometers per hour and the half at 90 kilometers per hour. All right. So it means there is a distributive van that covers the distance between two depots. Okay. And these depots are Azam and Abam. So between Azam and Abam, we have a distance that you have to cover half of it using a particular speed and the other half also using another speed. So the first half, the van use a speed of 60 kilometers per hour, and the other half, the van use 90 kilometers per hour. Now, the total distance between the two depots is 300 kilometers. That is 300 kilometers is the distance between Zam and Abam. And we are to calculate for the entire journey the average speed of the van. The average speed of the van. So you have to know the formula for finding average speed. Average speed is total distance over the total time. Total distance over total time. So in this problem, we have two depots. Okay. And there's a van that moves from Azam to Abam, covering a distance of 300 kilometers. Now, half of the distance is covered using a speed of 60 kilometers per hour, and the other half is also covered using a speed of what? 90 kilometers per hour. So this will help us to determine the time taken to cover each half. All right. So this is what we are supposed to do. So let's just start work. Our solution here. So I have a distance that is my from, let's say let me put my point here. Let me use the point instead of the arrow. So the first depot is here, which is Zam. Okay. And the second depot will be here, Abam. All right. Now the distance between the two depots is 300 kilometers. Okay. But half of the distance is covered using a speed of the first half. You use a speed of the one use a speed of 60 kilometers per hour, and that of the second distance, the one use a speed of 90 kilometers per hour. All right. So we need to determine the time taken by the van when it covered the first half of the distance, and also find the time taken by the van when it covers the second half of the distance. So that's what we are going to do. So we can represent the first half, the time taken by the van to cover the first half with T1, then that of the second half to be T2. All right. Now, the total distance is 300 kilometers. So it implies that half of the distance will be 150 kilometers. So it means from, let's say we have Zam rather, A, the Zam to be A, then half of it I have placed B over here, then here to be C. So it implies that from A to B, the distance will be 150 kilometers. And the other part will be 150 kilometers, since the total distance is 300 kilometers. And we have covered half of the distance using 60 kilometers per hour as the speed, and the other half to be 90 kilometers per hour as the speed. So this is what we are going to do. So our first speed is 50 kilometers, sorry, it's rather 60 kilometers per hour. All right, and we know that speed, the formula for finding speed is distance divided by what? Time. All right, so that's what it's very, very simple. That's what we'll be applying here. So we have our speed given to be 60, then this will be equal to the distance covered to be 150, because that's just half of the distance, so which is 150 divided by t1, the time taken to cover the first half of the journey. So you are going to get it to be, you just cross multiply and you are going to get 60 times t1 equal to 1 times 150. All right, and this will give us 60 t1 is equal to 150. Then you make t1 the subject, so you just divide through by t1. We are going to, sorry, we divide through by 60. So it's going to be 60 t1 divided by 60 equal to 150 also divided by 60. So we just simplify. So when you divide through, you can use your calculator to do so. But how will you simplify? So 10 divides 150, you get 15. 10 divides 60, you get 6. All right. Then we have 15 divided by 6. We can still simplify. 3 here, 5. Then 3 here, we have it to be 2. So we are getting a result of 5 divided by 2. All right. So our T1 is equal to 5 divided by what? 5 divided by 2, which is the same as 2.5 hours. So the first time taken was 2.5 hours. All right. So let us continue and look at the other one too as well. So we now consider the second part of the journey. That's the second half of the journey. So the second half of the journey, the time taken was t2, and we know our speed to be distance over time. All right. So the speed for the second half was 90 kilometers per hour. So 90 will be equal to the distance. So half of the 300, which is the same as the 150, divided by t2. T2 represents time taken to cover the second half of the journey. So we are going to get, we just cross multiply. This will give us 90 t2 equal to 150. Then we make t2 the subject. So we divide through by 90, which is the coefficient of t2, right? Then divide this also by 90. Then you get your t2 to be equal to, yeah, 150 divided by 90. You can equally simplify. So 10 here, 9, 10 here, 15. I think 3 can still divide. 3 here, we have it to be 5. Then 3 here, we have it to be 3. All right. Okay. So we are going to get a result of 5 out of 3 hours. All right. 5 out of 3 hours to be the time taken to cover the second half of the journey. All right. Now, we are to calculate the entire journey, sorry, calculate for the entire journey the average speed of the van. All right, so we have to calculate average speed. So average speed will be equal to total distance over total time taken. Okay, total time. All right. So we are going to get our total distance is still the same as the 300 kilometers. We were given a distance between Zam and Abam to be 300 kilometers. So we have it to be 300 kilometers. Then divided by the sum of the two time taken. All right. The first, so it's going to be divided by T1 plus T2. All right. T1 plus T2. Okay. So we have 300 kilometers divided by the first time is The T1 we have it to be 2.5. All right, 2.5. So here we 2.5 plus the second time, which is 5 divided by 3. 5 divided by 3 in bracket, then hours. All right. So you just need to work on the denominator. So 2.5 plus 2.5 plus 5 divided by 3. So we are going to get 25 divided by 6. So we have 300 kilometers divided by 25 divided by 6 hours. So this we are going to get a result. You can equally use your calculator, but you can also, so this will give us 300 kilometers divided by 25 out of 6 hours. So this will be equal to 300 kilometers times the reciprocal of 25 out of 6. So this becomes 6 out of 25, all right, hours. Okay, so here we are going to get it to be, the hours will now be here, all right, good. So we are going to get 300 times 6 divided by 25. And the total, sorry, the average speed becomes 72 kilometers per hour. So this becomes the average speed of the van, all right, in the entire journey. All right. Now let's look at the B part of the question. So we are done with the A part of the question. Let's just now look at the B part. Okay. So the B part says that we should, if the speed, let's go back to the B part of the question. Okay. If the speed of the van in the first half, if the speed of the van in the first half of the journey is reduced to 50 kilometers per hour, determine its effect on the overall time. Determine its effect on the overall time. All right. So this is what we are going to do. The speed of the van has been reduced. If the speed of the van in the first half is reduced to 50 kilometers per hour. First, it was 60 kilometers per hour, and it has been reduced to 50 kilometers per hour. So they want you to determine the effect that it will have on the overall time. So this is what you are going to do. You are going to use the speed that you are reduced the 60 to. It was rather 60, so you have now reduced the 60 to 50. So let us see the effect that it will have on the time. All right. So for you to determine the effect that it will have on the time, you have to also determine the time that the car will take to cover that half distance using the speed of what? 50 kilometers per hour. So that's what we are supposed to do first. All right. So the effect, if the speed of the van in the first half of the journey is reduced to 50 kilometers per hour, determine its effect on the overall time. So the speed was 60 kilometers per hour and it has been reduced to, okay, reduced to 50 kilometers per hour. All right. So let us determine the time that the car or the van took to cover that same half distance using the speed of 50 kilometers per hour instead of the 60. So speed is distance out of what? Time. So we are going to determine the time that the car used to cover the same half distance using a speed of 50 kilometers per hour. So the speed is 50 equal to the distance, which is the same 150, divided by the time taken when the speed was 150 kilometers per hour. So you are going to get 50 times t, all right, equal to 150. So this is what we are going to get. We make t the subject. So we are going to divide through by 50, the coefficient of t. 150 also divided by 50. So here we are going to get t to be equal to 3. All right. So let us look at what has happened here. First, when the speed was 60 kilometers per hour, the time taken was that was a T1. The time taken was 2.5 hours. All right, 2.5 hours. But now that the speed has been reduced to 50 kilometers per hour, you could say the time taken now is 3 hours. The time taken now is 3 hours. So what happened? You could say that the time has increased by 30 minutes. The time has increased by 30 minutes or half an hour. Okay, or half of an hour. All right. So the effect that it will have on the time is that the the overall the overall time has increased by half hour or 30 30 minutes. All right. The question is, if the speed of the van in the first half of the journey is reduced to 50 kilometers per hour, determine its effect on the overall time. All right. So you can see that the first part, when we use the 60 kilometers per hour for the first half, we had a T1 to be 2.5 hours. But when we use the 50 kilometers per hour for the same first half of the journey, the new time is now 3 hours, which means the time has now increased by 30 minutes. So, okay, the time has now increased by 30 minutes or half hour. Okay, so let us assume that instead of the van to use 2.5 hours, the van has now used 3 hours. So the overall effect that it will have on the time will be that the time will now increase, or the time has increased by 30 minutes or half hour. All right. Thank you for watching. Please, we are going to get answers to the other questions as well. So stay tuned to my YouTube channel, which is Math with Ebefa. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel as well. Thank you.